What I learned after watching a for sale by owner seller get sued for $20,000 over a septic tank repair that they forgot to mention is that the scariest part of selling your home isn't the negotiation table. It's the certified letter that shows up 8 months later when you're finally done unpacking the good dishes. We both know that you'd rather be doing literally anything else than reading disclosure forms. I get it. I'd rather be negotiating with my dog about her 3 a.m. potty breaks than talking about legal paperwork. But here's the thing, 45 minutes of boring prevention today is going to save you from becoming some lawyer's ticket to a new fishing boat tomorrow. If you're anything like me, you might remember when we sped through railroad crossings as teenagers, and those of us lucky enough to talk about it today can report that, well, nothing happened. Now, selling your home without legal advice is the exact opposite. With for sale by owner sales, every ignored form is like racing a train at a crossing, except this time, the train is definitely coming and is carrying a team of real estate attorneys. Now, there is some good news. Once you know the 5 legal landmines hiding in every for sale by owner sale, you can navigate safely with nothing fancier than honesty and a solid network of pros. Let me paint you a picture that's going to make your stomach drop a little. You're 9 months into your new place. You finally got the Wi-Fi working in every room. And here comes Cliff Clavin, the mailman, with that green certified mail card. Well, suddenly your morning coffee tastes like pennies because the buyer found something, anything to complain about, and their attorney thinks that your equity, well, it looks delicious. Here's exactly how to bulletproof your forms in 15 minutes flat. First, Google your state's real estate commission plus seller disclosure to see what's required, but don't stop there. Next, you're going to go ahead and download the forms just to familiarize yourself with what you need to disclose, from foundation cracks to that one time the basement flooded. Third, and this is crucial, bring these forms to your real estate attorney or your title company for the final version, because they're going to ensure that you have the current year's requirements, not last decade's, because who knows what's lurking on your state's bureaucratic websites. Fourth, fill everything out with brutal honesty. That wiggly doorknob and, I don't know, the temperamental garbage disposal. Both of those must go on the list. They should go on the list if you're not only smart and avoiding lawsuits, but also if you just want to be a good person. Finally, have your attorney or your title company review before you sign. Don't let the thought of saving hundreds on an attorney cost you thousands in ignorance tax. Now, about that time you fixed something and thought you were done with it forever, hey, surprise, in real estate law, fixed is like pregnant. There's no such thing as a little bit. So that basement leak from 3 years ago that your sump pump conquered, it still counts. Or the termites that had that one wild weekend in your attic before the exterminators show up, that definitely counts. Most people don't know that creating a simple house biography can prevent nearly all post-sale disputes. Here's what the format looks like. You have the date plus the issue plus the solution, and that all equals protection. So for example, March 2024, noticed moisture in the basement corner during torrential rain, installed French drain, bone dry ever since. Include the contractor's name if you got it, and document the perks too. The hall bathroom faucet needs, I don't know, a firm clockwise turn to get it to stop dripping. Been that way since we bought it. But at the end of the day, this magic sentence is going to help you cover all of your bases. And it's all information accurate to seller's knowledge. Professional inspection always recommended. This shifts responsibility appropriately while showing that you're the good guy here, or at least you're trying to be. Now, let's talk about your DIY victories that might become your legal defeats. We've all got that friend, and okay, it's usually a drunk uncle, who can build anything after a 6-pack and a YouTube marathon. That beautiful deck or that bonus bathroom or the converted garage, it's now your home theater. But yeah, they look amazing. They work perfectly and they have 0 permits. So here's where I need to be the bearer of bad news. Cities have memories like elephants and appetites like sharks. So if they discover unpermitted work, they don't care that Uncle Jerry is a craftsman savant. They want their money, their inspections, and sometimes they want it all torn down so they can watch you build it from scratch. And if the city comes knocking after you've already sold the home, that new owner is going to get that letter and they're going to come looking for you for your checkbook. So do you know what drives me crazy? It's finding out about unpermitted work after you're under contract. It's about the worst time to learn about this stuff. So here's your preemptive strike. Call your building department and say these magic words. Can you email me the complete permit history for my address? Period. It. Don't suggest you have any work that you've done. Don't suggest you have doubts. Just ask for all the permits. Or sometimes you can go online. I know in my county here in Brevard County, Florida, you can do that. But just compare it to reality, like you're checking your kid's homework. So if you're missing permits for that deck, you've got 3 options. Sometimes you can get retroactive permits if your city's feeling generous. You can tear it down if you're feeling a little bit dramatic, or just disclose it clearly. Deck built in 2018, no permit records found, buyer to verify the city. And sometimes, let's be honest, it's government. All they care about is money. So they just want an inspection and a fee. Sometimes it's complicated, but complicated now beats catastrophic later. Now, we need to have an uncomfortable conversation about property lines, easements, and all of those invisible legal boundaries that become very visible problems after a sale. You know that handshake deal with your neighbor about the shared driveway, or that verbal agreement about whose fence is on which side of the line? Those have the legal weight of a promise for me not to eat all the brownies, which is to say none whatsoever. I'm totally going to eat all the brownies. Now, here's what can happen if you don't nail down your property boundaries before listing. Imagine your sale falling apart because nobody can prove who owns the last 6 inches of the driveway. 6 inches. Oh, I have so many jokes here. I'm like a giant 12-year-old, but yes, even something this small could kill your $500,000 deal. I want you to picture this. The seller thinks their survey from 1987 is fine, but the buyer's attorney, well, they disagree. So 3 weeks, 2 surveys later, everybody hates everyone. Deal dies over a strip of asphalt you can probably just spin across. This is why you ensure you have an accurate survey before you list, not during negotiations. Think of property lines like invisible electric fences. You can't see them, but if you cross one, everybody's going to start barking. Your neighbor might have been parking on your land for 20 years with a handshake agreement, but handshakes don't transfer to new owners. That shed that's mostly on your property, well, define mostly. That fence that's about on the line, about does not close deals. The fastest way to prevent title disasters is to order your report before you even take photos. Tell the title company, hey, I'm selling by owner. Would you please send me a preliminary title report and whatever weird documents you find in the county records? When it arrives, actually read the exceptions page, because that's where surprises hide, like warranties sneaking into terms of service. I don't know, if you find an easement from 1952 or maybe an old mechanic's lien, there's a fence on there that might be 3 feet into your neighbor's yard. You fix it now while you still have leverage and options and you're not under the gun. Surveys cost a few $100. Boundary lawsuits, they can cost $40, $50, $100,000. I didn't get into the Marines based on my math scores, but even I could figure out the ROI on that one. Environmental disclosures. See, these are where everybody's eyes glaze over until somebody's writing checks to lawyers. If your house was built when disco was cool, you've probably got lead paint disclosure obligations. Not suggestions, not guidelines. These are federal requirements with real penalties. And no, 17 coats of latex paint don't make it disappear in the eyes of the law. Every region has its special environmental flavors. Underground oil tanks in New England, or asbestos and popcorn ceilings everywhere in 1960s Florida. That mysterious stain in your Midwestern basement, I don't know, that could be mold, or it could be where your teenager had a science experiment go rogue. Here's my rule. When in doubt, point it out. Let the lawyer decide if they want to test it out. Oh, that really rhymed. Anyway, you're probably not an environmental scientist. And even if you are, this is still one of those times where you should not bet your equity on your expertise. Now, this simple trick could save you from a ton of expensive lawsuits. Build a closing day time capsule of evidence. So you're taking photos of every room, every disclosed issue, every quirky thing you mentioned, and then email them to yourself in the subject, house condition on closing day. Create one PDF of all disclosures named Complete Smith Property Disclosures 2025, something like that, something that you could search for. But you want to save proof of delivery. So screenshot those email read receipts, or save the text from the buyer's agent saying, hey, we received all the disclosures, thanks. On final walkthrough day, photograph the utility meters and the thermostats, even the toilet paper holders. And keep this folder for 7 years minimum. If somebody says you hid something, you're going to have timestamp proof that you did. Is it a little paranoid? Yeah, maybe, but are you going to get sued? No, not with this. Here's a bit of a shameful confession. I used to think hiring a real estate attorney was admitting defeat, like calling for directions before GPS existed. And surely I could figure this out myself. Then I watched a friend spend $30,000 fighting over a $500 disclosure dispute. I advise my students to budget for an attorney like I budget for coffee. It's just part of staying functional. The pushback I always get is, well, gee, Tim, if I'm this honest about all the problems with this house, aren't I going to scare away buyers? No. Listen, the buyers who want a perfect house that's never had a single issue since the dawn of time, those are not real buyers. They're fairy tale characters. Real buyers appreciate honesty because they're about to drop their life savings on your home and they want to know what they're getting into. They're going to appreciate the honesty. And if nothing else, your brutal honesty is going to spike trust in a way that very few other methods can. Selling your house by yourself doesn't mean you're on a desert island with a best friend volleyball. It means you're the captain, but you still need crew for the tricky parts. So get that title, document everything like you're preparing for a very boring trial, and take photos like you're on a crime scene with CSI. Your house has quirks. Mine had a light switch that did absolutely nothing, and the garage door only opened if you pressed the button, but you had to have conviction. The guest bedroom window needed a secret wiggle technique in humid weather just to get it open. So write it all down. It's not unusual, and it's not confession. It's actually protection. A quick reality check for my fellow procrastinators here. Blank spaces on forms is like leaving your door unlocked in a sketchy neighborhood. Why leave yourself open for attack? If something doesn't apply, write NA, so nobody else can fill that blank with anything else that could put you in a bad legal position down the line. Tonight, before you watch another episode of whatever it is we're all binging, love on the spectrum, love it, set a timer for 30 minutes. Download your state's disclosure form, this year's model, not the vintage history edition, and then start that property history list, even if it's just 3 bullet points. Check your permit records online while you're sitting there anyway. You're not preparing for litigation, you're preventing it. Remember, we're all just trying to sell our homes without losing our minds or our savings. Here's the real thing though. These aren't sexy tasks. Nobody's making a Netflix series about filling out disclosure forms, in which case, if they are, call me. Listen, there's also nothing sexy either about getting sued. So remember, you've got this. One boring form at a time, one honest disclosure after another. We're going to get you safely to the closing table with your sanity and your equity intact.